My name is Kamil. I am very happy to have you here. Today we'll just try to learn basics of SQL. We have only 1 hour, so it's not a lot of time. Therefore, we'll just touch, let's say, the iceberg what SQL is. But I do hope that after that time, you will be happy to continue this journey on your own and explore SQL further because it is worth it. So just a couple of words regarding myself. So yeah, my name is Kamil, and what is the most important part, I'm a former professional chess player. And I had the biggest success in my life in 1999 when I was when I was 8 years old, and I've earned a huge prize of money back then, and my parents bought me Lego, and there was a new washing machine at home, but I was happy with my Lego, so I think it was fair. Yeah, okay, so I think we can move on. So the agenda for today is we have 8 points. The first 6, there will be a theory, and then we will do some practice. So I do hope that you have, all of you, that you have laptops. If not, that someone from dyvenia will join you, and then you can play, because we will play together with SQL. We'll run some queries and fetch the results. We'll see what happened. And then I will just let you know regarding my another story, how SQL did change my life as well. Okay, so let's start with the pronunciation. So I think you know that we already are talking about SQL, so it's not SQL, right? However, the intention for the people who created SQL was to name it SQL, but it was already taken as a trademark, so they couldn't do it. And instead of structured English query language, which acronym is SQL, they had to go with SQL, so just structured query language. So the origin is that yes, they wanted to name it SQL, but well, it stands for SQL, and this is the correct pronunciation. So you can correct people if they will be saying it wrongly. Okay. So what is SQL? As you know, the acronym already is structured query language, and basically it's a computer language, right? To aim to store, manipulate, and retrieve data in the relational databases. And the standard for relational databases management system. And here you have a definition of a relational database management system, and it's quite complex. So let me go with a very high level, easy, basic, let's say, introduction. So you can treat the relational database management system as a book, and the SQL basically is the language being used by the book. So you have to know the SQL in order to read this book, right? So we will retrieve and fetch the data using SQL from database management system. Another example is that, for instance, you can imagine that in your organization you have the employee table, right? Like the org chart. So who reports to who, your title, and so on and so forth. In the same data set, there won't be a salary, right? Because it's the information which is hidden and not allowed for all the employees. So it will be in another table. And in order not to duplicate all this data in this another table where salary is, we are using just the unique ID that we are connecting these two tables. So for instance, HR will just use unique ID of the employee to go to the salary table, join both of them, and we'll get the salary for the employee. So therefore we are not duplicate any data. SQL mainly is the data manipulation. So these 4 are the first and the biggest functions that SQL uses. We will just go with the first one, which is select. So with select we are retrieving the data from database. With insert, update, and delete, we are also not only retrieving, we are also changing the data inside the table. So for instance, insert is inserting additional data to the table. Update is changing the existing data. For instance, you can change the employer's salary, right? Let's hope that it will go higher. And you can delete the record. Once someone is leaving the company, you are just deleting the record of his unique ID. We won't be doing any inserts, updates, and delete because we don't want to mess with the data set that we have today. And whenever you're starting your journey with SQL, it's always you are receiving the read access, which means that you have a possibility only to select statements, because once you are using select, you cannot change, drop, or mess up with the data. So basically you are safe to do whatever you want, because this is on admin side that you can't break anything basically. Also, there is my favorite function which is not stated here, but it's also it's regarding having the admin access. So today we'll be mostly focusing regarding the select statement. So the select statement has its order, and we have to stick with this order, otherwise it won't work. So first of all, we are selecting something, the list of columns, expressions. It can be one column. For instance, we can select name, which is a column in the table, right? Maybe name of the employee. So we are selecting name. Then we have to specify from where we are selecting it. So selecting name from, and then we are providing the table, the name of the table, for instance, employee, right? Employee table. Then we can go with the condition, which is where condition. So we can go with that I would like to see only the employees with the name Kamil, for instance. So I'm putting select name from employees where name equals to Kamil. Group by, we can remove the duplicates from the data set if the data set has duplicates. Sometimes it is happening, unfortunately quite often in business, so we have to be aware of that. Having it's a little bit more complex. It's after the group by condition, so we can play also with a category or group that we choose before. We won't be using having today. And last but not least is order by, so it's basically sorting the result. So we can sort by, for instance, by salary. So we will see the employees with the lowest or with the highest salary in the database. So this is the select statement, and this is where we will be focusing in the practice time today. From the database perspective, it's just nice to have information why the SQL is quite faster. So you can imagine, for instance, you are opening Excel file, right? The Excel file contains 100,000 records. It's taking a little bit time to load. And then you are applying filter, just select only employee name Kamil, right? So SQL is working a little bit differently. So first of all, it's seeing which table you would like to query. Then it's applying where condition on this table, and only then, after aggregation, it's selecting everything. That's why it's much faster, because it's not opening everything. It's looking for a where condition is if there is a where condition. Therefore, it's much faster than, for instance, Excel file. It's just nice to have information. So continuation with basic queries. The aggregation functions, they are pretty much the same, self-explanatory. We have average, minimum, maximum, sum, and count. So we can sum rows, count rows, minimum, maximum. We can have, for instance, average of the salary from all of the employees. So then we can see the average for the whole company. We can select average for only one department, right? We can take maximum or minimum. We can sum everything, sum all of the salaries, how much the company is paying for all of them, and we can count the rows. So basically, it's very basic stuff. Here we are we are entering a little bit more difficult terms. The nested queries. So SQL has unique, let's say, feature that allows you to select data from previous select statement. So for instance, we can select data from an employee table again, where the employee name is Kamil, and this will be our base from another select that we will use. So from this only Kamil from employees table, we will select the, for instance, the Kamil with the highest salary. So therefore, SQL is thanks to that we can make very nice and complex queries. And SQL is doing the the select statements starting from the most nested ones. So it's going up above. I know that it's hard for now, but once we'll have an example, I think it will be much easier to understand how it is happening and how it can really help us to do very nice stuff. We have also unions in the SQL. So union is operator that we can use to combine two or more tables. So whenever we have a table and another table which is similar, they have to have the same column names, and the columns has to be in the same data type. So for instance, you cannot union the integer with varchar, right? Then we can union both tables into the one table. And it is helping us whenever we would like to see, for instance, we can choose only employees named Kamil, we can choose employees named John, and we can merge them together, and we will have employees Kamil and Johns, right? So we can do that with the union operation. The most difficult at the beginning, at least it was for me, to understand and grasp what is happening, there are joins. So as I mentioned in the beginning, in order to have salary data for the employee, we have to join another table. Because in our table, which is visible for everyone, we don't have a salary in this table, so we have to join with another one. So in order to do that, we need to paste the SQL join query. And we have 4 types of joins. The most useful ones, basically we are using like 2, but they are the 4 most important ones. So first one is inner join. So we are getting the data which is present in both tables. So you can imagine table A is employees, table B is salary. So with inner join, we will get the data that we will have all employees with salary. So whenever there's employee without salary, it won't be visible in our data set. And the same if there is a salary without employee, it won't be visible in our data set. So only the records that are in the both tables. The left join is the most important one and the most useful one. Everyone is basically using the left join, which means that we are adding to our main table, in our case employees, we are adding the salary. So whenever we will add to all the employees salary. If there will be a situation that employees without salary, the result will be null. And null is a lack of value, basically. So it means that there's in the salary table, we don't have that employee, basically. Right join it's equally the left join, but it's working another way around. So if we will join our employees table with salary, with the right join, when salary is a table B, we will have all the salaries. And whenever there's a salary without employee, which shouldn't be like that, right? But you never know with data, trust me. Then there will be null with the person. And full join, basically we are taking everything from the both tables.